the 2023 BMW M3. Anything any sports sedan can do, this does outrageously. A great tagline. In fact, that was the tagline for the M3 when it first came out in 1986. That car was an absolute sensation. Group A and Group B racing had taken over the race car scene, albeit even dangerously so, but it produced some of the most incredible cars in the history of the business. The Porsche 959, the Ferrari F40 dominated the Group B stage, and on the Group A stage you had the BMW M3. And a lot of people looking back go, you know, how powerful was that car really? It was just a four-cylinder, naturally aspirated, daily driver type of car, but the truth is the original M3, the E30 M3, won the 24 hours at Nurburgring 5 different times. In fact, it also won the 24 hours of Spa 4 different times. So was it a great race car? Absolutely, it was an incredible race car. What was different about the M3 though for the buyer who was buying one for a daily driver was the interior. The interiors were absolutely gorgeous on the original M3s, and it had really developed a new sweet spot in the marketplace where a car that was genuinely a world-class competitor out on the racetrack was also a sumptuous, comfortable, luxurious car for daily driving. And of course the quality was absolutely sublime, and that original M3 now is a $100,000 car. After the E30 had come out, BMW came out with an all-new 3 Series in 1992, one of the most popular cars BMW's ever made in its history. And that started in 1991. They had come out with a new 5 Series, 525i, with an all-new inline 6-cylinder engine that's perhaps the single best 6-cylinder engine that's ever been put into a car. And when the new 92 E36 3 Series came out, if you lived in any big city in the United States, you know it was the go-to car in 1992 all the way up to the late 90s. What people didn't know, especially in the United States, is that an all-new M3 had come out. It came out in Europe in 1992. It didn't come out in the United States until 1995, and that's what this car is right here. The E36 M3, 240 horsepower, 106-inch wheelbase. Again, a really stout, athletic car, but with a custom-tailored, fantastic interior. Again, people say, well, it's only 240 horsepower. Is that enough horsepower to be considered world-class? Well, it actually won the IMSA Manufacturers Championship 3 years in a row. So absolutely, it is the class of the class. This was the single finest daily driving type of sports car that money could buy in the mid-90s. This 98, now 25 years old, hard to believe, is still a car that not only makes for an outstanding daily driver, but can still race and race at a high level to this very day. Let's take a look inside. So not only sculpted athletic looks on the outside, but if you look at the interior, now this one is set up for race, so the passenger seat is out. Very, very comfortable on the inside. That's always been the story with the M3. But the story doesn't end at the E36. Of course, right after the E36, you have the E46 series M3. Again, a totally different kind of car than the E36, a lot more power. And for its generation, it was the class of the class. It was replaced with the E90, E92, E93 series, my personal favorite, the only one that came with a V8 engine. And then it continued on, and you have the F80 series, the G80 series, and that's what we're looking at here, a 2023 G80 series. The exhaust on this is absolutely a work of art. It's a $9,000 option, and it's not just the sound, it's almost a sinister appearance, especially with this carbon fiber rear finisher. Let's take a look inside. So back in the day, if you're looking at a car like an E36 M3 compared to something like a G80 M3, believe it or not, that car goes from 50 to 70 miles an hour in about 3 seconds. That's the sweet spot, not just for racing at the track, but for racing in the real world. Because if people are only going 55 to 65 miles an hour and you want to get on the other side of that, then that's a really important range to be in, and one that a lot of manufacturers miss out on. But BMW has made a lot of incredible innovations along the way to get the most power to the ground. Probably the single most important innovation that BMW has developed along the way is their limited slip differentials. The way that they do limited slip is a work of obsession, and that's always been a big deal. In fact, the other tagline in 1986 was, anything worth doing is worth doing fanatically, and their limited slip differentials was the missing link between the power that the engine generates and actually getting that power to the ground. And it really changed the way a lot of manufacturers looked at limited slips because they were just so obsessive about it. Set 50 to 70 miles an hour in that kind of 3-second range is incredible performance, and it made the car really easy to drive in a high-speed type of way for drivers who are using it as a daily driver car. But we jump ahead all the way up to 2023, and the story remains the same. This is a car that's still in the mid 3,000 pound range. This one has the new BMW. It's been around for a few years here in the M3. That's the S58 B30 T0 6-cylinder engine with twin turbochargers. It gets 453 horsepower in the M2. It gets 473 horsepower in the M3. You jump up to a competition edition, it gets 503 horsepower. But the truth of it is, it's a world-class race car. I mean, there's no other way to say it. All M3s in their generation are a car that the only difference between that car as it sits and that car crossing the finish line #1 in any track in the world is the driver behind the wheel. They really are that strong of a high performance car. But their reliability is what sets it apart from pretty much any other small sports car that has ever been made. Every single M3 that's ever been made is something that you can daily drive to this very day, if not take to the track effectively to this very day. They found the sweet spot, a car that genuinely will win any kind of race against its peers at any track in the world, but does so in a way that's extraordinarily comfortable on the inside, with a driver feel, a driver position, a driver experience that's second to none in the world. Now, the other part about the sweet spot is your own personal finances, right? There's a BMW M3 in your sweet spot. It doesn't matter if you're in the $10,000 to $20,000 range, there's an incredible M3 with your name on it. If you're in the $30,000 to $50,000 range, again, the options are unlimited. If you're ready to jump up to $100,000 and get the nicest thing that BMW has at the dealership, if the money allows, you're gonna have an incredible car that perhaps you're gonna have a 25, 30-year relationship with, that's still gonna have fabulous value way down the road. And as cars change, you know, this is the kind of car, this generation, G80 series M3, this could be the last of a certain kind of car, just like the muscle car eras, 1970, 1971. As that world changed, and look what the values are of that generation of cars, we could be headed down the same pathway. If the money allows, I'm going to say that the G80 M3 is the single finest car of its kind that money can buy. And it's not just me saying it. Ask anybody who has $1 million car, a race car Bugatti, or whatever it is, and say, hey, what do you think about the 2023 M3? They're going to tell you it's amazing, it's incredible, it's one of the greatest cars that's ever been made, even though it costs a tiny fraction of other high-end exotic cars. And if you have any questions about the 2023 BMW M3 or any new BMW, please don't hesitate to reach out to my friends at BMW of Hawaii.